In 1973, the Overseas Technical Cooperation Agency presented to the Philippines an urban plan for 5 train lines in Metro Manila. Known as Line 3, it was planned to be 24 kilometers, traversing the entirety of EDSA, starting from Monumento to Rojas Boulevard. In the 1970s, EDSA was a developing but modest thoroughfare. By the time the line began construction was almost 3 decades later, as an elevated rapid rail line. EDSA wasn't the same road as it was in the 1970s. By the 2000s, LRT-1 and LRT-2 were constructed with a total of 5 infrastructure challenges. The original MRT-3 plan would have to face 14. By the 1990s, infrastructure projects were initiated to ease congestion along the developing avenue, resulting in the creation of flyovers, interchanges, and tunnels to accommodate road access to radial roads and to business districts. The rail line was then delayed for years due to contractual issues, but a plan was set. The rail line would be constructed in 2 phases. Phase 1 goes from North Avenue to Taft Avenue, and Phase 2 continues from North Avenue to Monumento. In 1999, the line from North Avenue to Buendia was opened, with the remaining 3 stations opening a year later. Despite the line's popularity today, initial ridership was low. With a projected 300,000 daily users, the line saw only 40,000 in its first month. The estimated daily ridership was only later met 3 years later, after the decrease in fares and the construction of access points. Despite initially being labeled as a white elephant project, the MRT-3 plan is regarded as one of the most important infrastructure projects in the region, considered a marvel of rail design and infrastructure at the time. However, many of these were a result of countless compromises. So to better explain these complexities and compromises, let's start from north to south. The North Avenue station was built a bit far from the intersection, as an overpass was planned to be built over the intersection. The station, however, became a point for development. East of the station was an empty lot meant to be the depot of the rail line, but seeing the commercial potential of the lot, the depot was moved underground as it was later redeveloped as the Trinoma Mall. The government-owned land and informal housing near the station developed into a business district. However, one of the biggest compromises of the rail line is what wasn't built after the station. Phase 2 of the rail line was never built for the MRT-3. Instead, it was given to the LRT-1 line. Not only did this decision mean the rail line failed to form a loop, but it also ruled out an extension to Navotas. The decision also led to internal conflict in connecting the 2 rail lines, as the connecting station and its infrastructure remained incomplete and stagnant to this day. Continuing down south, the next station also met a similar fate to the North Avenue station. In its opening, the Quezon Avenue station was also surrounded by commercial development in the 2010s.
At directional marker, pati na ang mga lovers. Naglagay rin ng mas malalaking ventilador at mas maliwanag na ilaw.
Many other stations were built far away from intersections due to flyovers, such as the Quezon Avenue, GMA Kamuning, Araneta Centro Cubao, and Santolan Annapolis Station. The Araneta Centro Cubao station couldn't be built near the intersection of EDSA and Aurora Boulevard due to the crossing of the LRT Line 2, choosing instead to build a station adjacent to and with a direct connection to the Farmers Plaza. Ortigas Station in particular had been complained about the most. The rail line was particularly forced to traverse to a service road due to the presence of flyovers in the intersection. Quite the opposite situation for the next station, Sa Boulevard. The station couldn't be built on the intersection or below it due to a tunnel being on it. The planners of the rail line had every right to build the station anywhere else. Instead, they built the station right below the flyover. However, the plan faced a problem. They couldn't build too tall or wide because it would affect the flyover. No other previous station design could work as the concourse would be too low. So why not build the concourse level above? That's also the station design for the next station, Bonnie Avenue. What about 2? The concourse was practically divided into 2. The North Station, also known as Building A, has direct connection to two malls. Building B is built into the mall next to it. Parts of the station were also built as commercial space, which today doesn't feel quite alive. Heading down the Pasig River, the Guadalupe Station is a good example of how much geography and terrain can impact a train line. This is the part of the rail line where many compromises were made in its construction. Much of the line became on ground due to the presence of flyovers. However, another reason that some have speculated is that the reason why most of the line in Makati are partially underground or on ground is due to the influence of wealthy residents along the avenue. Fearing for their privacy and safety, the residents of these villages lobbied for the construction of the line to be just enough so that people can't look over these villages. This was also the case for the Ayala station. The opening of the station was delayed for a bit because of the inclusion of additional work on the line. One of them was making preparations for a spur line called the Makati Loop. It was a spur line that would connect to the LRT-1 Gil Puyat station via Ayala and Gil Puyat Avenue. However, only 400 meters of the spur line were built. The project was later abandoned. Heading down to Magallanes Station and forward, the line experienced one of its most significant compromises. Due to the construction of the Tramo flyover, the rail line practically cuts the city of Pasay in half, leaving no possibility for an on-ground connection between the two sides of the avenue. And because of the flyover situated near the station, the Taft Avenue station was forced to be on the ground. This led to the line's inability to expand south, with supposed plans intending to expand the line from the Mall of Asia to Naya and Kawit Cavite. These projects would later be considered for other rail projects. I don't think there is a rail line quite like the MRT-3. While the rail line had its compromises, these compromises added complexity to the design of this mass rapid transit line. Well, maybe the MRT-7 may dethrone its complexity, adding in a bit of SMC bullshit in there.